Hey, gang, with IAE, the Interstellar Aerospace Expo, coming up in apparently, as of this recording, 8 days, 16 hours, and 24 minutes. I thought it might be fun to join in a little wild speculation. So, if that sounds fun, I'm going to go ahead and talk about what I am positive will be in there, what I expect to be in there, and then a little bit of wild speculation of what I think might be coming or could possibly be coming as kind of like a dark horse. So that sounds fun. Let's get this. Okay, so we'll just start here. This is their basic homepage. So, yeah, I mean, I'm in total agreement with info runners that this pattern back here is going right along with the sort of Gittak styling here. So you can sort of see these sort of swooping curves, and all of that is kind of a signatory of the whole one ship that we have for Gittak. But sort of the same thing is going on here. And if you look at the schedule, Gittak is number one. So we're getting Gittak. I don't think it'll be the Raelin. We know they worked on the Raelin a little bit last year. So I don't think that we're actually getting the Raelin. The Raelin is a big ship. Just to give you a sense for scale here, let's see if I can find one with a person in the image. Yeah, so you can see that's a person right there compared to this thing. This thing is not going to be that big. This thing is going to be a competitor with like the Constellation, if I had to guess. If I really had to guess, I'd say it's probably going to look something like this. But Gittak is definitely going to be kind of the lead-off concept ship because we've never had the alien ships lead off. Inforunners had a really good point that everywhere else they're in alphabetical order, but here they've got a Poa, Banu, and Asperia. But Gittak is leading, so it's definitely a Gittak ship. I think that we know that, and I'll kind of get into speculation about what it is, what size it'll be, whether it's straight to flyable, that kind of thing first. But I thought first it might be fun to look at what we're actually getting. So we know for 321 we're going to be getting a bunch of ships, and they're all right here under committed. So we've got the A1 Spirit now. We're going to be getting, probably for this coming patch for IA, I assume that's when they're planning on dropping this thing, the C1 Spirit will be there. So we'll have the A1 and the C1. We'll have the Tumbril Stank. I have a little bit of speculation that there might be a variant hiding out there. Argo SRV, the Drake Cutter, and we know that there's another Drake Cutter out there, the Drake Cutter Explorer, that probably doesn't have the radar dish, has a little more cargo room, I would assume, but that one's leaked for a few months. So we know that we're getting that one too. So not only the Drake Cutter Scout, we're going to have the Explorer. So these are the ships that we know that are in there. They might delay the Explorer Cutter for an end of the year patch, because what I'm seeing here is it feels like there are going to be a lot of concept and straight to flyable ships for IAE, and that would be a weird precedent for them to set. We've got the Sentoki, the X1s coming out at the end of the year. So we might actually see some of these sitting out. We won't be able to use them yet, but I would assume the X1 is pretty close, but they're probably going to drop it in December's patch. So don't hold your breath for these. These are guaranteed. So those are the ships we're definitely going to see, is the ones on this list. So the C1, the Stank, there might be a variant of the Stank. I'll get into that. The Argo SRV, the Cutter Scout. Cutter Scout we got. I think we're going to get the Cutter Explorer. They usually drop a starter ship, so Cutter Scout would be a good candidate for that. I think they might be dropping another one. I could be wrong. Would be a good candidate for the starter, and then they usually drop a bigger concept on us. This year, I think it's going to be the Gittak ship. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into what I think is coming. So this is the guaranteed. So let's get to things that I would expect to see there.
And just have a single ship option, and the choice is actually the manufacturer and the styling of that ship. So we want to do a nice large civilian mining ship that bridges the gap between the Argo Mole and the RSI Orion, because if you know those two ships, there is quite a gulf of space in between them. We wanted to fill that gap with an intermediary stepping stone before you jump into the big RSI Orion, which the scale of its mining is nothing like any other mining ship in the game.
Okay, I'm going to stop John there. So like John was saying, you've got the Argo Mole, and then you've got the Orion mining platform. And platform is apt because this thing is as big as a station. It's huge. So, and it's grown since this concept. But what they wanted to do was plant something Starfarer sized in between this guy and this guy. And so during that talk, I believe it was 2 years ago, or it might have been last year. But anyway, John Crew was saying, as opposed to putting up a bunch of silhouettes, which you guys know we'll eventually do all of them, what we're going to do is we're going to tell you, we're going to concept out the large miner, which will be roughly Starfarer size, or bridging the gap between these two, and we'll let you guys choose the manufacturer. And that manufacturer was RSI. So we know there is an RSI mining ship somewhere out there. I doubt it would be straight to flyable. It could be a concept. This would be interesting though, because if they were going to do that, then we'd be getting a concept ship here. We'd be getting a concept ship here. Well, we'd actually be getting a straight to flyable sail here. And then we'd be getting a concept sail here. That just... And I think that we will probably be getting one for Tumbril. So you're talking 1, 2, 3, 4 ships rolling out, and maybe 5, and I'll get into that in a minute. That seems dubious. So I would think that the RSI miner will probably come next year, that concept will, but it would be nice if they did an Inside Star System where they talked about where it is in the progress, or where it is in the concept. But I suspect what they'll probably be doing is talking about G'Tok. But there is like a week in between these two, so you'll probably get G'Tok through here, the G'Tok talk. Jared, you can steal that. And then RSI at the end might make sense. Just kind of, hey, we told you about this. This is where we are in the process. When is November 25th? Hang on. Okay, so the 25th is... So this is Saturday to Sunday. So their Thursday show would be out here for Anvil, Argo, and all of these guys, which we know it's an RSI ship. So put a pin in that one. I don't think we're getting the large RSI miner concept in this one. I think we're getting the G'Tok. All of the clues are pointing to like a medium G'Tok ship. So think something, well, let's just say this size right here. So there's your G'Tok ship right there. And what I think it does is those sort of blades that are kind of sticking out to the front there. Let me put it so it's the same way. I think they kind of fold up like this because GN ships aren't GN ships unless they're giving you a gigantic cross section to shoot at from the front. So I think that these arms right here will slide up and kind of form that shape like the Raelin has when it's in flight. I don't think it'll be quite that extreme. I think they'll probably be more like this. So not quite to the huge broad pedals. I think flip this one upside down and you probably have what the G'Tok ship is going to look like when it's spread out. But we do know, I thought that this was Mirai, but Xi'an makes more sense, especially just the way it's floating and everything. And it wouldn't make sense for Mirai to make something that big. So that's what I think the big concept ship is going to be. Again, I'm kind of glad that they're aiming their big concept at like the Connie size rather than something like Liberator or the Kraken or the Polaris or the Nautilus. Something just huge that very few people can realistically access. I think something that's like 250 to 300, while it's ridiculous to me to say 250 to 300 is relatively affordable, for most people it isn't. For this game, that's not bad. That puts it in Connie territory, and that's about where I would expect this to land, and that is fully what I expect to see in this ship. I think that this is like 3 to 4 wings here, and they'll fold back. Now, what I think might be a dark horse. So these guys are dropping in the next 12 months. And while this styling right here kind of seems a little bit Drake-like, I could see Mirai being a performance racer rolling out a microbike like this that's just ridiculously wicked fast, which is what this looks like, although that does look like a gun. But I could see this being a Mirai ship and them dropping that on us in IA, just something really tiny to roll it out. Again, kind of put that in the same category as the large RSI Miner. It could drop. I wouldn't be shocked if it did, but don't hold your breath. Again, I think that we will probably see the X1 bikes on Origin Day, but they won't be flyable or rentable. Wouldn't be shocked if they did that. They might not. Sometimes when they have a concept that's getting close, we don't see it. Like they've had the SRV's body done for a while. They just haven't had the mechanics behind it working. So they didn't put it out there for us to walk around. And I think the only time they've done that is when they put the Idris out there and we could walk around it. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that with the X1, just wouldn't hold your breath. And so really it's back to this guy. So Gitaka, I don't think we're going to see anything on the Retaliator, the Zeus, or the Polaris, which were the other ships they said they'll be working on in the next 12 months. We might get an update on the Raelin itself. What I think they're doing here is basically what I've been saying they should be doing with Banu, is making a medium-sized ship for the aliens to kind of get the style guide nailed down in a smaller sense. And then it's much easier to make the bigger ship with a medium ship as a base, just something that has rooms to it. You can kind of get a flow and a style guide that you can bring into the larger ship. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and watch the trailer for IAE here, and we'll kind of see what we can see, because there's 1 or 2 more concepts that I think are kind of hiding in the background here. So let's go ahead and poke around. Finger on the trigger, because it's right about here. Now they start going fast, so I'm going to slow this down a little bit. Of course, there's the A1. There's the C1. Kind of gives it away with the title there. Nothing new here so far. We shouldn't see anything new for Misk. We might see something new for Mirai. There's Tumbril. So 2 things I want to point out here. So Tumbril, this is the version that we've been seeing for a while. But there's the SRV. We'll see that. This. So what I think, and the second I saw this, I called it, and Info Runners stole my thunder. They got it out before me. I think that this section is actually not necessarily modular, but I think it's a variant post where they can plop in different types. What I think this is, let's get it there, is kind of a HIMARS thing. So if you've never seen HIMARS, HIMARS is the big missile launcher that the U.S. military uses. Long-range missiles. Effectively, this will be listed as an AA version of the Stank, but remember that the missiles can fire ground to ground. So even though it's AA, size 1 or size 2 missile fired from a vehicle can also be fired at other vehicles. Just something to keep in mind, or at least if you can't now, you will eventually. So yeah, I think that we're going to be getting a variant of the Stank, and I think that that is why the Stank took a little bit longer to make than they were saying. Like they were saying, oh, we're really having problems with the treads. I don't think they were having problems with the treads. I think they were making a variant. I wouldn't be surprised if there's other variants as well, like ones with bigger guns. Now here we go with the new Xi'an ship. So I'm going to try to see. You can kind of see it's got more curves to it than we've seen. But this is definitely like an alien element right there. I think we're looking at those wings. So coming back to this, I think that that is probably this underarm right there of that. Definitely Xi'an right there. I mean, that's a Xi'an writing. That's their style. This is clearly some kind of room. So again, this is a medium ship that's going to have an interior. It's not going to be the Khartu-al, which is a cockpit, or even the Sentokai, which again is just a cockpit. This will have an interior, and this will define probably the interiors for Xi'an ships moving forward, or at least for G'tak. Chances are this was pushed because the Xi'an are in Squadron 42, so they needed a style guide. This was kind of surprising because we know there are Banu slavers in Squadron 42, so you'd think that they'd be pushing the Banu Merchantman for the same reason, but nope, they're going Xi'an, so maybe they're Xi'an slavers. But here you go, just more stuff. Kind of hard to get a sense for scale, but it's definitely going to be a medium ship. We know it has an interior, and if it's a bigger ship that has an interior, this right here is the best bet. And again, that's the size of a person, so you take that. A person can fit there and there. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like, since the Xi'an like verticality, I wouldn't be surprised if there's one level here, one level here, and then maybe a bridge here, or maybe even a split bridge. I'd be surprised by that. So I would kind of expect 2 levels. I've heard some people say 3 levels, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like it has that much room. I would expect 2, but who knows? And now that I look at it, it almost looks like it has little wings poking out there too, doesn't it? Yeah, it could be pretty cool. So will I be getting one? Probably. I'm planning on melting a bunch of ships again. I did this a couple years back. I'll let this play through in the background. I'll let it play at normal speed. Actually, I'll just let it play through. So yeah, that's just kind of my wild speculation for this. Actually, not as wild as I would have thought. I think the only things that could be stretches is if they were to roll the little micro bikes in there from Mirai. I think they're probably Mirai bikes. Tumbrel Stank, it looks like there is another version of that right there. G'tak, whatever that thing is kind of a given. So I think those are probably the best bets. And then you've got all of these, which are guaranteed to be in there. So you're going to have the Cutter Exploration. I would not be surprised if it's there. I wouldn't be horribly surprised if it wasn't, because this is going to be pretty stuffed for new ships. You think about it, if they do, I don't think the G'tak ship is going to be straight to flyable. I think it's going to be a concept, and I'll show you why. So you come down here, these are the straight to flyables here. So this 34 weeks, I think, let's see, there was 2 that are kind of going in tandem, if I remember right. I think this is the Drake Cutter Scout, and this is the Drake Exploration. We do have another little concept here. We know they had the Fury LX, which is this one. What am I forgetting? There was another concept that they just rolled out recently. But anyway, there is enough room for one of these straight to flyables to be that little bike. These 3 are small, so we know this is the Cutter. These 2 are probably the Cutter here, and this one is probably the concept for the Zeus. That's the vehicle content team. Let's see. These are the two right here that are concepts. So one's 15, one's 28. This is just vehicle concept. If I had to guess, this is the G'tak ship right here. 28 weeks would be a medium ship, so that fits. Just a concept, not straight to flyable. Here's your other ships right there. The Fury, the I would assume this is the Cutter Scout and this is the Cutter Exploration. That does leave room for this little concept here. And I think that is it, although they do have a ton of concepts up here. They do have one other vehicle up here, 12 weeks, that's an unannounced vehicle that's just a concept that's been done for years. If I had to guess, that is a water vehicle, and they're not going to roll that out to us until they have the water physics, if I had to guess, just because it's been done for so long, and it wrapped around the time that they were finishing up water physics. So yeah, or working on water vehicles, which was a while back. But yeah, I'm only seeing one real concept in here. I would not be horribly shocked if there's a Tumbril Stank variant that's buried in the numbers here, because this isn't always 100% reliable. Like, I'm pretty sure you can take those out. It's 11 week, I'm pretty sure, was the Fury, which left these three. And that, we've got 2 weeks for our narrative team, which they wouldn't be rolling something out to us with just a write-up on what it's eventually going to be. So that one I wouldn't expect to see, which puts these two out there. So you got 15 weeks, you got 28 weeks. I think the 15 weeks is probably the Zeus, so I'm going to take that out of there. You got 28 weeks. I think that's your G'tak ship. Again, not straight to flyable. So coming back here, that means that you're getting concept ship for G'tak. They might talk about the RSI miner. I do think that we'll be getting a Tumbril variant. I think they did it at the same time as they were doing the Stank. They did at least one other version, which is anti-air. Usually they have racing, combat or cargo, and anti-air. I think they're just going to do combat and anti-air given the nature of that vehicle. Just kind of going down the works here. I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of showed off the Mirai bike, but then again, they could hold that off until next year pretty easily, given as full as this is. And then RSI, I wouldn't be shocked if they talk about the RSI miner, since it was a year ago that they kind of dropped the idea of the concept on us. A year later, actually show us the concept or what they're thinking for it. And gang, that's all I got for now. So let me know what you think, what you're speculating on, if you've heard any other rumors out there or leaks. I don't really spend a whole bunch of time on Pipeline, so I'm not sure if they've actually rolled out images of the thing yet, but probably won't be too long. I try not to spoil myself because I kind of like the gee whiz factor of seeing them in the moment. But that's all I got, gang. So yeah, like and subscribe, all that junk, and catch you next time.